Hello there. In life, you will encounter disappointments of all kinds. But today, I want to focus on heartache. The disappointment that comes from investing a lot of time in a relationship, your emotions, your resources, and then all of a sudden that relationship goes south. I'm not a relationship expert, not by miles. I don't think there are experts when it comes to how life plays out, because life in itself is a mystery and you can't dictate how it goes, not really, because there's so many other forces at play that are beyond our immediate control. However, sometimes we find ourselves so heavily invested in a relationship. Sometimes it's a romantic love interest, sometimes it's marriage, and things don't work out. It's particularly more painful when you think everything was going well, and then it turns out that you were thinking that all by yourself. You were essentially in that relationship by yourself. You're thinking, oh, we've spent 5 years together, we've been together for 10 years. How could you do this? How can you walk away? It's not a situation anybody aspires to find themselves in. It's not a place anybody wants to be you male or female. And this happens to both men and women. But because I'm talking more, I'm specifically addressing my women folk, we will be looking at these whole issues through the lens of a woman. So here you are, abandoned after, 7 years of your life wasted, essentially. And you know that you are committed in that relationship. And you thought your partner knew how committed you were. You were loving, you were affectionate, you were supportive, the communication flow was fantastic. You had a genuine friendship going on. It wasn't just love. You had a friendship. People knew you together. You encouraged each other. You told each other about opportunities. You shared your frustrations with each other. You told each other what was going on in your families. You told each other about your deepest, darkest fears. And above everything else, you were a valid support system for each other. Then things begin to change. It's either this person begins to grow cold on you, becomes distant. Sometimes it starts that way. You begin to see the red flags. And you try, if you're married, it's easier to overlook some of these red flags because you already have a certain degree of security provided by marriage. Marriages don't just die like that. They don't just disappear into thin air like that. It takes quite a lot to break a marriage up. But when you're just dating, those red flags can put you in a state of great distress and tension as you're left wondering what is going on. Is it something I said? Is it something I did? How do we come back from this? You ask questions and you get fobbed off. You're constantly being told, oh, nothing is wrong. But you can tell your spirit man is telling you that everything is wrong. Or rather, nothing is right. But you keep trudging along and hoping that, somehow, even if it's some girl that has distracted him, oh, she's going to be a passing fancy, you've spent so much time together, he will definitely rally round, and all that, you have so much history and this and that. And then it doesn't happen. And this person truly walks off into the sunset with this other new love interest. They go about it in a variety of ways. There are some people who just ghost you. What is ghosting? They stop calling or taking your calls. They don't show up for dates. They disappoint you every single time you have something that you're doing together. It's a very cowardly way of doing it, but it's also one of the surest ways of knowing when somebody is not invested in you anymore. And then for others who don't want the long, drawn out, situation, they'll just go straight up and, put you out of your misery and tell you exactly what's up. I've met somebody else, I'm sorry, I really love you, it's not you, it's me, and all this. But the bottom line is they're telling you that they're excusing themselves out of your life. But the one that's even far worse is when you wake up one day and suddenly realize that that person is gone. It could be in a marriage. I know of instances where, right here in Nigeria, I know the instance of somebody who was in the military and was deployed to another country and ghosted his wife. She thought he had died. Turns out he had started a whole another family in that country and didn't know how to get himself out of it. He got busted and she found it and everything. I don't know how that's going. But that happens. It has happened to one or two really unfortunate souls in their marriages where your partner is alive and well, they don't want to go through the rigors of divorce or anything, and they just ghost you. They disappear out of your life, leaving you with the kids. There's that. We've had situations where you think you're in a relationship with somebody, and then one day you wake up and his marriage, his wedding ceremony is splashed all across, social media, and you're trying to wake up because you're absolutely certain you're asleep and this is a nightmare. It's not, it's reality. But I would want you to look at it from this perspective if possible. Consider the fact that this person is meant for somebody else, not for you. No matter how much you think you deserve this person, you and this person were actually not destined for each other. Yes, I believe in destiny to a certain degree. There's somebody else that is better suited to this person that has excused himself out of your life. That's one way of looking at it. It's actually the best way of looking at it, especially if you know that as far as, to the extent that you can recall, you've put your best into the relationship. You've invested your time, your energy, your resources, your affection, and you've left this person in no doubt about the level of commitment you have, about how invested you are in the relationship. If you know in your spirit that you gave everything you could to this relationship, you did your part and you played your part well, and the relationship still failed, what you should do is pick yourself up, dust yourself off as best you can, and move on. But don't move on too fast. Give yourself time to recover. When I say move on, I mean don't dwell. Don't spend all your time dwelling in regret, in self-pity over what has happened. Try to live your life. Move on. But don't move into another relationship immediately. You have not yet healed. You need to give yourself time to heal so that you can be wholesome enough for another person to enjoy being around you. That way you don't go around sabotaging every person, every relationship that you experience. Because there are people who, owing to one really disastrous relationship, have not been able to relax enough to welcome a potential new partner into their lives. They hop from one relationship to another with great speed, carrying on as if, oh, I'm so good, I'm all that. No, nothing do me. Something do you. Give yourself time to recover. You have to recover. If you don't recover, you cannot be valuable in a relationship with another person, and you need to be whole to be able to give your best self to the next relationship. Certainly, you should look out for the red flags you possibly ignored in the previous relationship, but you cannot live a full and wholesome life if you keep hanging on to what this person did and that person did and this and this and this, you bring all of that baggage with you into a relationship with a new person who probably has good intentions. You know, you come with so much baggage that you frighten the person off. So by all means, give yourself a year, 2 years, take as much time as you need to recover. People tend to underestimate emotional pain, but people commit suicide as a result of broken relationships. They feel like their lives no longer have any value, and they don't want to face the painful reality of living from one day to the next without that particular person in their lives. And then they take a very permanent and drastic decision. So that's how painful breakups of valid, solid relationships can be. So what makes you think that you're ready for a fresh relationship with a new person in 1 month or maybe less? You're not. Even if you think you have healed, believe me, you haven't. And you need to take steps to heal. What are these steps you can take? For instance, if there were places you were hanging out together, maybe you don't want to visit those places anymore, including friends that you are mutually acquainted with, if they always remind you about this person that has moved on. Maybe you don't want to visit recreational places that you used to go to together. Maybe you want to drop a hobby that you shared together. Maybe you want to develop new interests. If it's really, really painful and you live in an area where you'll be forced to encounter this person with great frequency, I suggest you start looking seriously into the possibility of moving from where you currently are to a whole nother environment. It helps you. Surround yourself with friends and family that will speak peace and love into your life and help to reaffirm you as a person. Do everything you can to recover and heal. If you're somebody who is deeply spiritual, turn to God, pray more, go to church more often. You will be able to draw strength from that. If you're not a spiritual person, it might take you a bit longer, but that's not to say you'll never get over it. Just change those things that you were doing together. Stop going to places. Stop listening, particularly to music that you both listened to and enjoyed together, so that you give yourself time to come back, to bounce back and be a fresh new whole person again. And please do not think to yourself, Paul did this thing to me, therefore Henry will definitely do it. No, Henry is a whole different ball game. And as I'm very fond of saying, we all sin differently. I'm sure Henry has his own issues. But you must be mindful of the fact that because he is not Paul, chances are good that he's not going to replicate whatever it was Paul did in your life. And another way you could look at this is this. Let's say, for instance, you're meant to travel. You're due east, let's say Anambra, for instance, and you do all the necessary preparations, you book the space where you're going to stay, you have enough money, you have your itinerary lined up, you have the right kind of attire and everything, you've taken time off work, you have your pocket money and everything, you have everything ready, you've done your bit. And then you go to the motor park and you're arriving just as that particular bus is leaving, And then you burst into tears and you get all dramatic about it, and then people are like, what's the problem? Oh, I just missed my bus. Oh my God, I missed my bus, I missed my trip. Oh, well, calm down. No, how can I calm down? I just missed my bus. Well, in the midst of all the hula baloo and everything, you come to realize that, the bus you thought you missed was actually headed to Kano. While your destination was Anambra. Wait for the Anambra bus. It doesn't mean that this person that has been removed from your life is necessarily a bad person. You're just not meant to be together in that way. That's all. They're better suited to this other person that they have been linked with. And whoever it is that you're better suited for, if you keep your mind open, will come into your life. Of course, it all depends on how dramatic it got. Certainly, if you abandon anybody at the altar and they decide they never want to talk to you again in this life, I think that's okay. Yeah. But on a more serious note, when things like that happen and you know you were invested in the relationship and you gave it your best shot, all you can do is tell yourself, that person was not meant for me. And whoever they are meant for, I wish them well. And I keep my mind and my heart open for the right person that has been destined for me.